topic of service. Mickey, it's around 20 minutes, whatever. I'll give you 5 minutes when you're here. Oh, you're being recorded, mate. Thanks.
No one told
It's all
me.
yours, Mickey.
Hi, folks. I'm Mickey. I'm an addict. So it's really lovely to be here, and I just want to tell you where I'm at because 4 days ago I flew into Faro. I was spending 2 days travelling to get to Madrid for the European Cup final. It's taken me hours and hours and hours in cars and flights and planes to get there the cheapest possible way. And I just got off a plane about 3 hours ago, and I've come straight here. And I'm really grateful that I've been able to come straight here, but I'm completely wired out. Also, so I'm doing a chair on service, and the thing is, I do a lot of service, I always have done. I don't know what a lot is for everyone, but for me, I'm committed to service, but I don't want to sound like I'm an expert, so I'm going to talk about my experience of how I got into NA and how I got involved in service and what it's done for me. I could talk about the service structure, which is kind of like a bit academic, but this is an NA meeting, and it's for the addicts who still suffer, so I don't want to sort of start going down that route because I didn't really know where to go with this. The other thing is that at this time of year, I get very emotional doing chairs because I've got a birthday next weekend, and I'm 38 years clean next weekend. So, but what happens is I get very emotional because it's a bit like going to the European Cup final actually. But, because when I came to meetings, there were 3 people. One meeting, 3 people, and I've been here ever since. Ever since my first meeting, I never used. And I've been involved in the growth of the fellowship like everybody else. And I get very emotional this time of year because I start reflecting on, all kinds of stuff. The fact is I came here in my early 20s, now I'm in my 60s. Life has shot by fast. And this is a constant for me. Constant. So, and I consider myself very lucky. So I just want to say that I regard this as my fellowship. This is my fellowship. You're my people, and this is where I belong. And recovery is not linear, like the longer I'm clean, the weller I get. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending how you look at it, I'm subject to bouts of madness like you wouldn't believe, or rather you would believe. Despite my knowledge and what I've learnt, I can wake up in the morning and suddenly be completely depressed for no reason whatsoever, start thinking about leaving my wife, leaving my kids, setting up in a bed sit in Brighton, throwing in my business, giving everything away, I'll be perfectly okay. Then someone will make a phone call and I'll be right as rain again within seconds. I can switch from one thing to another. At 38 years clean, I still do that. Actually, no, I'm not 38. I might not make it. It's another week to go. But I can switch from one thing to another in seconds. I don't do it a lot. And I have a program, which is a set of disciplines and things that I've learned, tools, in order to help me with my addict personality or my mental illness or whatever you want to call it. I don't have any particular favourite names. I've gone past that stage where I need to have a label. I know. And so before I start my show, I just want to tell you that 2 weeks ago I went to... things happen all the time. And I learn lessons all the time. 2 weeks ago I went to quad biking in the Argyle with my eldest son, and we had a really good time, and on the way back I stopped at a chemist to get some toothpaste. And I always start a share with a story because I want you to know where I'm at. And I walked into this chemist, and there was one person in front of me. It was a big supermarket. It was a big chemist. And so I queued up, and by the time she finished, there were 2 or 3 people behind me. I put the toothpaste down on the table. The guy goes to me, "Where's your ticket?" I look at him, I go, I didn't think I needed a ticket. I just want to buy some toothpaste. He goes, "No, you need a ticket." I said, "Look, I haven't got a ticket. There was no one in front of me. I just want to buy some toothpaste. Just let me pay for the toothpaste, okay?" The guy looks to the person next to him for guidance. I say, "Do you like working here?" Right? The woman behind me starts going, she's South African, she goes, "Get a ticket." Now, right, so you guys already know what's happening, see? See, my son didn't have a clue because he's not like me. So I say to her, "Look, stop biting in. You know I didn't push in, right? I'm straight. I just want to pay for toothpaste." And then she goes, "Get a ticket." And the person behind her gets, "Get a ticket." So I go, "Fuck you." And I pick up the ticket. And I thought, I'm a grown-up. I'm a grown-up. I have 3 children. I run a business. Anyway, this is why I need a program. I'm completely. I can get crazy. I'm going to talk about early recovery. Early recovery for me is anyone in their first 37 years. 11 months and 3 days. So if there's anyone here longer than that, you can tell me if it's changed. The guy who started the fellowship, who is assumed to have started the fellowship, of course, it's never just one person does anything. It's always a whole group of us. But Dudley died last year, and he 12-stepped me. And he came to see me. I was in a psychiatric unit, and I was making. And the psychiatrist who sent me there said, "Phone NA." There's something called NA, and I was making potato shapes. Right, there wasn't the same kind of treatments there then as there was now. And a few people have gone to places like this, and I was making potato shapes. Right, I was 24 years old and making patterns. And Dudley came to see me, said, and he had such love in his eyes, and he said to me, "Come to an NA meeting. You'll really like it." And I said to him, "No, you go to an NA meeting. I'm going to finish my treatment." And I finished my treatment, and I got chucked out of there actually because I did something. And Dudley came to see me again, and I went to a meeting. And as soon as I went to a meeting, I was on board. I didn't need any lessons. I didn't need to try it again. I just knew. And I knew one drug was exactly the same as the other drug. I didn't have issues with alcohol or smoking weed or this. I knew. It's just common sense. I knew. One drug, the other drug. The fact is, I was a mad drug user. There was nothing I wouldn't use. You put something in front of me, I'd use it, and when it finished, I'd fit on the train, and then I'd move on to something else. I just used everything. So I didn't have issues around sort of hierarchy of drugs. And I went to a meeting. There was 4 people. There was 3 guys who are all dead now, and a woman who's not dead, but she left the fellowship and went to another fellowship. And as soon as I went to meetings, I got stuck in. I got stuck into the fellowship. What I wanted to say was, when I first joined NA, I was very, very vulnerable, and I didn't know how vulnerable I was because I've been taking drugs for years. Oh, you tell me when I'm done, yeah? I'm not telling. I've been taking drugs for years and years and years and years and years, and then one day I just stopped, just like that, just like everyone does. Because there's no, one day you're using, next day you weren't. And I was really screwed up, and I didn't know how screwed up I was. And people would talk about things didn't understand, anger and anxiety and depression. I didn't understand any of these words, I was just like, I was just a grafter, and I was moving and shaking and trying to do this, trying to do that, would steal anything. And I went to a meeting, and I just knew it was the right place. So within 6 weeks, I'd started a meeting. I think these days, if you do something like that, someone will try and stop you. But in those days, there was no one to stop you. So if I told you the amount of pots I put my hand in, it's a little bit different now. But I started a meeting, and what happened was that I came in like everyone. I came in with a peer group of 3 or 4 or 5 people. And they all got stuck in. It's never just one person. I might say that the way that, so we didn't have a service structure in NA then, and we didn't have a recovery text. Somewhere in my loft, I got the manuscript of a recovery text that the Americans sent us over to approve. Like everything that happens in NA should come to groups, but it's my experience that groups don't really pay a lot of attention, and that's how it is, and we didn't either. And I've got the manuscript of the original text. It's like that thick, and it's like that big somewhere in my loft. Right, when we have an archive room in the office, I'll give it to them. But until then, it's in my loft. And so we didn't have a service structure. So we sort of like winged it. We kind of made it up as we went along. So what happened was the way NA started was a guy called Sean, and this is true because I spoke to him last year. A guy called Sean in AA got sick and tired of addicts coming to AA and sharing about addiction. So he went to Germany and got some literature because there was one meeting in Germany. And he found a room in the basement of Milner Street, which was a hostel. And he gave Dudley the literature and he said, "Here, start your own fucking fellowship." And that's how it started. And that's how NA started, on a resentment. Right, and then people would start coming in. People would start coming in and getting involved, and we'd get involved, and then we'd start a meeting, and one started late night, 11 o'clock at night at Ealing Hospital, get some real nutters there, and a late night one in Hampstead, and slowly over different areas of London, meetings would start. And then as meetings started, what happened to me when I got involved in the fellowship is I began to build some self-worth. I think it's really important that I include is that when I came to the fellowship, I had no self-esteem to speak of, and having just stopped using drugs and having all this. I'd share in meetings and I'd think about it hours what I'd share, whether I fucked up or said something wrong. But in actual fact, no one ever remembers anything, I ever said. But I'm so self-obsessed and painful, really, really painful. I couldn't get out of my head. And what happened was, as I began to get involved in the fellowship and I began to build some self-esteem from that, I began to sort of lose that sort of a lot of the edginess of my personality, a lot of things which made me uncomfortable, and I began to feel good about myself in certain areas, and I do think service is still like that. Just because it was like that then doesn't mean it's not like that now. Well, and it was really important, and I got and doing service and starting to get involved in meetings made me feel worthwhile. It gave me a purpose. It involved me in relationships with people, because it was very hard for me to have relationships with people because I never had anything to say. All I could talk about was drugs, and then what happened was, so I started a meeting, and then what happened after that was there was after about a year, the fellowship was about 30 or 40 strong, and we sent. And we used to get the leaflets here, and we'd print them up in someone's office. And we had a couple of guys who used to sell those phony perfumes, and they had an office in Lots Road in Chelsea, and they're still around, those guys. And we used to print the literatures, and then someone came over from America and said, "No, you can't print literature. We got copyright. You have to buy it." So we go, "What?" Right, like you do. So we sent 3 guys over to America to find out if we were doing things correctly, and if we weren't, how we should be doing things. And it was a room like this, just like this, in the basement of a church in Radnor Walk, right? And they came back, and we all gathered there Saturday morning after the meeting. There were 3 of them there, and we all go, "Well," and they say, "Well, after you've shared, people go, 'Thank you,' because until then, after we shared, no one said anything." So it was really uncomfortable. There was like silence. You finish sharing, there was silence, and someone else would jump in, And at the end of the meeting, we say the Serenity Prayer and hold hands, and we go, "No." Hold hands. It's so American, and that's what, because everyone was in their 20s apart from 2 or 3 people. We were all kids, and we were all like mad, and so and then basically then after that we formed an area, and then all the meetings would send a rep to an area. And the way the service structure works in NA is at the top of the pyramid you have a meeting, and then underneath the pyramid going down like that you have all these your area meetings, and H9, P9, and under that you have region, and then an offshoot from region you have the office where they deal with all the money, like the legal stuff, and then America's a massive corporate thing that turns over millions and millions and is all tied up in legal stuff. But what happened was that we started an area where all the reps from meetings would go, and basically what happened was if we didn't like you, you wouldn't get a service commitment. Right? That's how it was like, because everyone knew each other. There was like 20 or 30 of us. But right, so if you were someone that was a bit sort of uncomfortable, didn't get on with anyone, were in the corner and was frightened to open your mouth, you wouldn't get a service commitment, right? So you had to sort of like tough it out like everyone else. It was a really strange thing. We were like real young kids, just like finding our way. And what happened was, after about 2 years, we bid for the World Convention. So what we did was, the fellowship now had moved to Bristol, and there were some meetings in Bristol, meetings in Weston, where all the treatment centres were, and meetings started. So the thing about NA is it's kind of snowballed now, and it's uncontrollable. It's like a monster. It's just growing and growing and growing, and it has been for years. And we bid for the World Convention, and I wasn't involved in that, and we sent over a team of people to bid. And America, they don't let go of the World Convention very easily, and we won the bid. That was in 1986. So we won the bid, and we rented Wembley Stadium, and the Americans sent down a lawyer called John Farrell, so he's dead now, to watch us, because we had all their money, right? And the guy who was the treasurer, Martin F., who came into the fellowship with guns and was about 6 months clean, had all this money, right? And this lawyer, right, watching what we did, come to all the committee meetings. And the thing is that it was so amazing to be involved in the fellowship. The fact is that I still get that now. I still get that now. When I'm on a committee of a convention committee where you see an end product. It's not like you finish and you go. At a convention, you see an end product, you know. It's a wonderful thing to be involved in. I still get that buzz. Cool. I still get that buzz. So at the end of the World Convention, the Americans sent us a fax, and they said, when it says NA will never be organised, we weren't talking about conventions. You know, and so, you know, it was amazing fun. I think I've tried to, I mean, that's gone real quick. I think I've tried to put over how much fun it was to be involved in the growth of the fellowship. And if I shift to now, because I only got a couple of minutes left, I serve the fellowship because it's my fellowship. I don't serve the fellowship for any other reason than I want to give to my fellowship. This is so important to me that it's an absolute pleasure. I love it. I don't do it to get a thank you for anyone. I don't do it for anyone to say, wow, you do good service. I do it because this is my fellowship. And I wanted this fellowship to be as well run as it can possibly be and as loved as it can possibly be. And I put that in. And what it's done, I mean, people say, you sit in meetings and people say, the most important thing is I don't use a day at a time. Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. It's important. You know, everything's important. My whole lesson, my whole experience of recovery has been, you know, the way I've learnt about the program through experience and the tools that I use to deal with my madness. It's all important. But I would say that the single thing that's given me more self-esteem and helped me more feel like I belong here more than anything else is service. The thing is that I have a responsibility, you know, I have a responsibility. Belonging is a responsibility. It's like I'm in charge of my own program. I'm in charge of the recovery I want. And if I want to belong here, I've got to put something in. And, you know, service doesn't always mean, service can be sponsorship. Service is all kinds of stuff, you know. Some people stick at group level. Some people want to go, you know, international. Some people want to go to Europe, whatever. There's all kinds of opportunities for people to make this their fellowship. Like I've tried to make this my fellowship. I had no idea I was going to say any of this, really. Because I think that when someone does a chair, if I do a chair and one person in the room is empowered by that, then I've done a great job. And there isn't anything that anyone, however clean you are or you aren't, can say in a meeting that doesn't help me at some level. It's just not possible. The diversity of people in the meetings mean that there's always someone in here that can say something which I want to hear. You know, but if I don't put anything in, if I don't give, I can walk out of there, no one knows where I'm at. And I think I've done, I think I'm up, yeah? Yeah, cool. Thanks.
My name's Max Maddox. You know, you just finished off this.